Oh, snap!
The world is finally waking up to the crap that's baked into and sprayed on kibble dog food. No longer can commercial pet food manufacturers fool us with pretty pictures and false promises. This is the raw dog food truth. The view and opinions expressed on this podcast are not intended to replace medical advice. Before starting any raw diet, do research, ask lots of questions, and consult your vet.
Well, hello, raw feeders. I'm DeDe Murcer Moffett, CEO of a raw dog food company. We're your pet's health. It's our business. And we're friends like my friend, Dr. Judy Jasek. Let friends feed kibble. Because you know what? She's smart. She's smart. And she's holistic. Aren't you now?
Every day. That's one thing I know for sure.
Right? Right? You know, I'm so, let me ask you this. Do you think that with the information, okay, that is coming out about COVID vaccines, about the propaganda, about all the stuff that they were pushing, do you think, Dr. Jasek, that the veterinary community would hear that as an alarm bell, or maybe a shovel upside the head that says, you need to really look at what you are suggesting and recommending for pets? Do you think that they even consider that at all?
Sadly, I think it's probably very minimal consideration. I don't think a lot of people, even very holistic people, make that jump. I think they still think, I think a lot of people, and people are starting to see the difference. I don't think people understand that the vaccines that are going into pets these days are every bit as bad as what's been put into people. It's the same stuff. It's probably worse because they're probably just taking leftovers from the human side. They're not testing them and they're just putting them in bottles and selling them on the pet side because they can get away with it. But you would think that it would be waking people up. And I guess to some degree it is, but not as much as you would think. Because when I tell people that, they're using mRNA vaccines in animals, and most people are just shocked to hear that. It's not like common knowledge. Judy Morgan put out a video that I've seen put out. We reposted on our Facebook. She put out one about mRNA vaccine. So it is getting out there. But for some reason, people seem reluctant to let go of this trust of their veterinarians. And they really need to let go of the trust.
You do know that the whole COVID thing was being kind of that person that was supposedly the smart person, other than Dr. Anthony Fauci, was a vet. He was a vet. Mm-hmm. And I was just looking for his name because Bourla. His name was Bourla.
He was like the head of Pfizer or something, wasn't he? Or something high up in Pfizer?
Yeah. And he was this veterinarian called Bourla. And I was listening to the podcast with Tucker Carlson and this surgeon. And this surgeon who was talking about, he was actually doing informed consent. And he almost was put into prison for
informed
life.
Consent for the vaccines?
Yes. And he said, here's what he did. His patients would come in and he would say, okay, I don't know what's in this vaccine because this, MSDS sheet is blank. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't have any idea about that. And we've been searching for a vaccine to cure, cancer and to cure other things for hundreds of years. And yet we have found a cure for something that looks very much like the flu in 9 months. And he said, and here is another thing, hydroxychloroquine, who, has been shown to do this, and this. Anyway, basically he just laid it out on the table. And he said, so I can go ahead and inject you with this. I have no idea what's in it. I don't know what the repercussions are going to be. What would you prefer? That's how he did it. But he
Yeah.
absolutely said, here's as a doctor, as a surgeon, here's what I know. Here's
Yeah.
what I.
He's just being honest with people, but we can't
Mhm.
have that. We're
No. He
supposed
almost
to
got
just
put in prison.
inject people. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
go into jail for just being honest with people. Yeah. That's a real crime.
Yeah. And he said, think about it like this. What other industry? Think about the raw dog food industry, Dr. Jasek. He said, we're forced to take what happened during the whole COVID is that we were forced to take their products and we have no recourse if their products hurt us because they have full
Mhm.
immunity. What other industry has full immunity? And I loved what he said is if something works, if something is valuable, if people see that it helps their lives, you don't have to incentivize people. You don't
No,
have to give them a donut or free pizza or anything else because they will flock to you.
they'll be screaming it from the rooftops.
Right. So I just said all that because I just wonder it's now that information is coming out. It's out there for people to see and to hear. And I just wonder, one of the things that he said on this podcast was Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what they said about Lyme disease. It was a bioweapon.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that.
And yet, what do we connect Lyme disease to in the dog world?
Ticks.
A tick bite.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been any proof of that you know of?
Mm-mm. Nope. And a good person, if people want to look at this, Sam Bailey did a really great little talk. Dr. Sam Bailey from New Zealand. I think you can still find her Lyme disease talk on YouTube, and it's just like 15 minutes, but it was really good about how it's never been proven that it exists, that this organism causes it. And again, it's not that people don't have symptoms, that pets don't have symptoms. Of course, that happens. It's the same
Yes.
with like things like parvo. Of course, puppies get sick. I've seen so many of these puppies, these horrific bloody diarrhea. But what is the cause? Somebody decides it's this organism, and for Lyme disease is Borrelia bacteria that the tick spreads. So we got to blame the ticks. Well, then we can sell all these, flea and tick preventatives and all that stuff. But that relationship has never been proven. And people get so hooked on like that Lyme disease thing. Like once either a human or a pet is diagnosed with Lyme, and then any little symptom that, that Lyme disease is flaring up. And then what do the vets do? Put them back on antibiotics again for 6 weeks. And then they just keep getting sicker because they just keep getting more drugs. They don't look at what else could be causing it. It's all inflammation. What else is causing the inflammation? What other toxins was the pet exposed to? There's so many other things. The symptoms of Lyme disease are so nonspecific. But I found a tick. I found a tick on my pet last week, and now my pet's limping. Must be. And the tests, I don't believe any of these tests that they test Lyme disease or parvo or any of it. I think it's just all invalid, so that you got to stay afraid. You got to stay to push their agenda. You got to stay afraid of something. So we got to stay afraid of the ticks. We got to stay afraid of the parvovirus. You got to stay afraid of all these little things that you're uploading out there that you can't see. And you don't think about what's really going on. And what's really going on is toxicity of some sort. That's what I think.
Right.
It's some sort of poison, a lot of it coming from the medical profession.
It is amazing. What is amazing is that a lot of this information is out there and available now where we couldn't get to it before. But I will say that this particular doctor that was on Tucker Carlson, and this was a September issue, but he was saying that a lot of the journals and things that really questioned like the effectiveness of vaccines and kind of what they were talking about. He said, you can't find them anymore. They are gone. They have been wiped.
Hmm.
And he said he wished that he, would have taken a copy of it. But anyway, it was really, 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 really super interesting. And he was saying just how they have changed the wording, they have changed the meaning of things, and therefore they can move their agenda. And it's sort of we see it all the time, right? In our industry, in your industry, you see it all the time. So something is thrown out there and people run with it, and they don't really do the research.
Right.
And one of the things that's really going around right now, Dr. Jasek, is that dogs have evolved. They have their teeth, their digestive, everything has evolved so that they can eat processed food and they can't eat raw food. Now, I can't really make sense of all that, but what I can say is that evolution works over tens of thousands to millions of years. And how long, Dr. Jasek, if dogs have evolved to eat kibble, i.e. processed food, how long has that food been around?
Right. I mean, 100
maybe
years.
100. Yeah, maybe not, probably not even, but okay, let's just call it 100 years. That
So
is
what is their evidence for the evolution? So they like to throw out these words like, well, they've evolved. So what is their evidence? Have the teeth changed? Has the length of the digestive tract changed? Is the pH of the stomach? Like, what is there? Because like, if you look at these pictures of, like the evolution of the horse, if that's still true, I don't know so much about that true, but these horses used to be these little animals with pads on their feet, look like little foxes, and then they evolved, and you saw the pictures of the body changing. So if this evolution has happened, so what's changed? So did they talk about what's actually changed in their body that now makes eating cakes, cookies, and donuts acceptable?
right. So here is one of the things that we recently heard live. We heard this from someone's mouth. And it said domestication. This person said domestication has robbed our cats and dogs of their natural defenses against pathogens. So, Dr. Jasek, that is why we are obligated to cook their food and pump them full of vaccines, dewormers, preventatives, because they have no ability to protect themselves after domestication. Now, I will agree that they cannot protect themselves since domestication from pet parents who do this to them. I will agree on that, but how is it that domestication has robbed our dogs and cats of their natural defenses unless it's someone who is feeding them improperly and filling them full of toxins? That I will agree with.
And again, I ask, what is that based on? What is that based on? Like, how are they, like, they say this stuff, but there's absolutely nothing to back it off and up, and people believe, oh yeah, like they've lost their defense. That sounds like a good narrative, but it's just words. There's nothing. How have they proven that? How have they proven that they've lost their defenses because of their being domestic? That's just a narrative they want people to believe. It's based on absolutely nothing. I watch my cat. He catches squirrels. I'm like, how in the heck is this cat? He catches these big squirrels. I'm like, how the heck is he catching them? While I was watching him, we got a little pond here on our property, and he was in the grass there by the pond. And I'm like, what is he stalking? And then I was watching, and the squirrels come down to the pond to drink. And I'm like, aha, he's catching them off guard when they come down for a drink. Well, he likes to bring his treasures up to our deck. First thing he does is, well, the very first thing he does is he plays with it. He rolls around with the dead squirrel. Thump, 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 because it's like reliving the whole kill. I don't know. I don't speak cat. Then he decapitates it. He doesn't like that, evidently doesn't like squirrel heads too much. He'll eat chipmunk heads, doesn't like squirrel heads too much. And then he just starts to slowly, munch on the body. And then he gets full. So he'll leave it out there. And I was like, well, maybe he'll come back. And a little hour later, he'll come back and he'll munch us. I get this squirrel carcass out there, and I'll leave it out there for a few hours, until the flies come. It's like, okay, the flies are starting to eat your squirrel. If you're not going to finish it, then, because he's not really hungry. He just likes to, but like, okay, domestic cat, right? Eating in the wild. It hadn't killed him yet.
No. And here's the thing. So I was doing some research and I wanted a breakdown of how long, because this is what people are always asking. Or they're always saying that they have changed. And what they're talking about is their teeth, their stomach, and their digestion. Okay. Mm-hmm. How long does it take for those three things to evolve in dogs and cats? And the information that I got back was that, the teeth shape, the jaw structure, the digestive physiology takes hundreds of thousands to millions of years, not just a few generations. So domesticated dogs have only been eating processed foods like kibble for less than 100 years. And even if we calculated it on grain heavy diets, since early agriculture, which would have been 8 to 10,000 years, that's still too short of time for any meaningful evolutionary change in the digestive anatomy. No way. So they still have that same digestion of a carnivore. Then you look at their teeth and their jaws, and it says, they are built for meat, raw meat. They're sharp, they're pointed. Look at your cat's teeth, Dr. Jasek. They are super pointed and they hurt like the dickens if they grab you with their little claws. And
oh my gosh, even just playing, it's like, hey, ouch, that's my finger.
Right. And so their teeth, dogs and cats, are built to slice flesh and crush bone, not grind plant matter. And they were talking about that the dog's temporalis muscles, those are used for crushing bones. They're still very dominant. Mm-hmm. And they said, while true omnivores, okay, like us and pigs, we're like pigs.
We are not like pigs.
We have larger
I know some people that are very much like pigs.
So we have these larger jaw muscles for side-to-side grinding. Yeah. So this evolution thought, I get the domestication, I get the bad information on the side of a pet parent that causes an animal to have to survive on high sugary kibble diets. I get that. And that's why they have this enzyme, right? More than the wolves. They've had to survive. But as you've said, that doesn't mean thrive. They still have the short intestinal tracts. They still have a highly acidic stomach, and they have limited amylase in their saliva, and meaning they have a poor starch compared to omnivores. So omnivores have a lot more starch in their mouth. So knowing that, I don't think that I could even possibly get on the same page with our dogs have all of a sudden evolved to eat all this plant matter and all this kibble. I just can't go there, Dr. Jasek.
Yeah, me either. And if you think about how that whole commercial dog food industry started, it was a place to put in industry waste. Waste from other industries, and it still is. It's like a dumping ground. There's, we don't know what to do with, extra maltodextrin made from corn. I know, let's just dump it in the dog food. It was a salvage thing because people were rationed during World War II. And so they didn't know what to feed. They were just feeding dogs scraps because that's what dogs ate for, millions of years or hundreds of thousands of years. They just ate leftover scraps and then hunted rabbits or whatever they could find. They're just natural scavengers. But then people were rationing their own food to the point that they didn't have enough for their dogs. So they started just making this kibble, and it was supposed to be just a temporary thing just to get the dogs through the war. Well, what did they find? Oh, we got this great place to put all this garbage from other industries, and it's cheap to make, and people are buying it, and people like it because it's convenient. None of it ever started to make dogs healthy. There's never been anything in that industry that was focused on pet health. Now, your vet will tell you there's these prescription diets that are designed for health. No, it's the same crap. They just put a prescription label on it and charge you twice as much for it. And they tell you can only get it at your vet. That's the only thing prescription about it. There's never been anything about that industry that's been focused on improving pet health. And it's done nothing but make pets sicker. So like you said, domestication, yeah, it's lowered their defenses because of crappy diets and all these drugs and vaccines and all that stuff.
Well, I know that some people think, well, animals, dogs, and cats, they've been around for millions of years. Okay, but here is your summary timeline, guys. Dogs and cats' teeth shape, it takes 1 to 5 million years for that to change. And do you know what? Today, they are still carnivorous. Today, they still don't have molars. So you can't say next year they're going to be omnivores, right? Stomach acidity, I got the numbers of that, 1 to 2 million years. And their stomach acidity is still very, very high. Their intestinal link, it takes 5+ million years. It's still short. It's the carnivore type. And then the enzyme adaptation, 5 to 10,000 years. So again, partial starch tolerance in dogs only, not cats. Now, I see a lot of cats that have a massive amount of starch in them, not doing well, not going to live a great life with that. But when you really look at it from a timeline, today, your dog, your cat are carnivores, not omnivores. They don't cook their food. They don't eat processed food. And this other thing, the whole bacteria thing, I think that we could look at their stomach acidity, right? And know that they're created for this kind of food. But again, these narratives can come out that are just silly. They're just silly.
Mm-hmm. And they've been trying to push this particular narrative for a long time.
Mm-hmm. A really, really, really long time. So again, if you want to see a dramatic difference in your dog, and I say that, Dr. Jasek, because it is a dramatic difference. If you have a dog that's been on kibble, right? They're on allergy medications, they're on antidepressants, they're on, appetite stimulants, all this kind of stuff. Change their diet. Change their diet to what they are meant to eat. And I was walking with a neighbor the other day, and I'd given her some bones, and she said, and this is a Bernedoodle. Okay, it's not a small dog. It's probably a 70-pound dog. Mm-hmm. She just said, and the reason I gave her these bones was because she said, my dog's tearing up everything. Just, she wants to chew on something. I said, well, give her a bone.
Yeah.
So she said to me, I just couldn't I had to throw away the bones. And she said, she was chewing them up, and I was just afraid they were going to splinter and just rip up her insides. I said, well, okay. I mean,
I don't know I have nothing to say. It just makes no sense. I was trying to think how could you show that those bones don't actually splinter? Maybe you need to do a video of taking one and smashing it with a hammer or something. Because the only bones that splintered are cooked or dried. That's the way bones splinter. Otherwise, bones are pliable. They don't splinter. Like try to make a raw bone splinter. That's what I was just thinking about. Like I don't think you could make. I mean, if you like bash it, and dogs just chew on it like gradually. They just kind of chew on the edges, But there's this whole. I think the whole thing about bones is like the cooked chicken that's been in the garbage for 3 days, and the dog gets into the garbage, and they get those dried up bones. Yeah, those are dangerous. So I always say no cooked bones ever. Raw bones are okay. They get down to kind of a small size, take them away so they don't swallow it. And I guess they could possibly choke on that, but they're not going to splinter. But what can you say? You're not going to change your mind about that.
Well, I said, well, I don't really see that, but here is my advice. If it bothers you, don't do it. I said, because when a pet parent is afraid, then they have this energy that causes your dog to be uncomfortable. And now you have this uncomfortableness in your life. I said, I just encourage you to maybe look at it a little further. I can tell you that our daughter, as a vet, doesn't pull raw bones out of dog's stomach. They pull panties, socks, tampons, diapers, fluffy toys, plastics, right?
It's never the bones.
Yeah, right. And so anyway, I remember Dr. William Faulkner at one time, and I could probably try to find this video. He had a raw bone in a jar, and he had created sort of the type of acid that would be in the stomach. And he showed how rubbery it was.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, he did that. And I remember he used to do the some really good videos back in the day. And but I've never forgotten that. But anyway, it's just these things, that we believe, just like we believed, some of us, that not some of us, we didn't, me and you, but a lot of people believed that COVID vaccine was going to help them, and they made a decision that probably wasn't in their best health, right? So again, I don't think that pet parents say, hey, I'm going to do this because this is not going to be good for my dog. Nobody thinks like that, I hope. But there is a reason that pet parents aren't doing the best for their dogs. And that's the thing, Dr. Jasek, trying to figure that part out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fear is a very powerful emotion. So as soon as somebody is afraid of something, yeah, they're better off, like you said, just letting it go, because if they're afraid, then they're going to pass that energy on to their dog. And then, so I guess just let the dog continue eating the furniture, which, oh, by the way, probably has all kinds of toxic stuff on it, the paints, the stains, the flame retardants, and all that stuff. That drywall is really toxic. So your dog is chewing up your house, he's getting a lot of toxins doing that.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Don't feed the raw bones.
Right. So your talk with the
Weston A. Price.
I was like, W.A. Price. I was like, what? Weston A. Price Group is coming up.
Uh-huh.
How are you excited to talk to these folks? I mean, these are going to be your allies. They're not going to be people looking at you with their glasses down on their nose. They're going to be very much on your page as you're talking about the pet industry and the veterinary industry. What are you hoping that you're going to, what's the needle that you're trying to move forward in this talk?
I think I want to make people aware, first of all, of like how really messed up the veterinary profession has become, and how, so in part of the talk, I talk about, how vet students get indoctrinated really to be pawns of the pharmaceutical company and to just sell drugs. And because I do think a lot of people still go into the vet and like well, the vet told me this was the best thing. I was afraid. I hear they're afraid to not do that lepto shot, like don't make decisions when you're afraid. If you're doing it because you're afraid, stop and think. Um, but I'm kind of going into how vets get so indoctrinated so that they believe this is in the best interest of their patients. And it's really just a big selling game. So I'd like to wake people up to that, because I think a lot of people don't realize that veterinary medicine is the same as human medicine. So at this conference, these folks are awake to what's going on the human side, the majority of them. And there's a lot of other people speaking that have been speaking out against the human medical system for a good number of years. So I think they're aware of that. So to make them aware of that, but then to also empower people. I think a lot of the issue is people don't feel empowered to take their pet's health into their own hands and get educated and learn how to treat simple things at home and make simple assessments. So like they want somebody else to tell them what to do. And I think, and people have been trained, have been like trained by the industry that it is the veterinarian that creates the healthy animal. So my main goal is to change people's mindset that they are the ones that should be in control of their pets' healthcare decisions. Because right now, I think the big issue is people are outsourcing it because they've been trained by the industry to do that. People get a new puppy or kitten. What do? You run it into the vet and get the first set of shots. I mean, people have been trained to do that for eons. People need to take a step back and say, no, how to take care of a healthy puppy or kitten. You keep them home, you feed them a good food, you know how to take care of them. You don't need to take them to the vet. Toxins and people need to change. They need to snap out of it, DeDe.
That's right.
They need to snap out of it and take control of their pet's health and not go running to the vet and get out of this mindset that health is created, that healthy animals are created by the veterinarian. That's what people have been led to believe. And they're not. The only real use. So the uses of veterinarians are, so for pets that have already been damaged in the system, a good holistic vet that can offer good holistic healing practices can help. Aside from that, if you're starting with a good, healthy program with like a puppy or kitten, or I'm going to be talking a little bit about farm animals and stuff because some of these folks are homesteaders and all that. The only other need for a vet is emergency care, true emergencies, broken leg, stitches, bleeding, true emergencies, blockages, panties eaten by a dog, that sort of intestinal blockages, things
Right.
like that. But if you start with a good, healthy program, you don't need the vet to have a healthy pet. You really don't. And that's what I'm really, and I'm encouraging people to get educated, because I think people have become afraid to do that. But who knows animals best? Their guardian does. They know everything about them. They know their routine. They know their behaviors, and they instinctively probably know what their pet needs, but they get afraid. And so they go running into the vet and they believe what the vet says. But health is not created. That's the bottom line. Kind of my big punchline is like, health is natural. Nobody creates health. The vets don't create health. Health is natural. You just need to support the body. And voila, it's so simple. It's so incredibly simple that health is not created by pharmaceuticals. It's the natural state of the body. So if everybody could just start embracing that, our animals would be so much healthier. But it's not easy to get there.
It's so funny because, don't you think that most people today, Dr. Jasek, would agree that if you are feeling fatigued, if you have achy joints, if you have, no motivation to do anything, that without a doctor telling you this, don't you think that most people would say, let me look at my diet? I really do think that human beings would say, now, whether they change it or not, I don't know. But most human beings would look at their diet and say, man, I eat a ton of sugar in the morning, and then I'll double down and eat some chicken fried steak, smothered in gravy, mashed potatoes every night. Or I just don't eat well, right? Never exercise. Um, and they wouldn't say, I hope I need to go to the doctor so that they can fix the fact that I just don't recognize that I'm eating crappy food. I mean, what would a would and I say that because I have a family member right now who um is saying I'm fatigued, I'm this, I'm that. And yet there's a lot of soda, there's a lot of ice cream, there's just so much sugar in the diet, right?
Hmm.
And this person's in their late 70s, and you know they're worried that they're going to have a heart attack like their father did. And it's like, okay, but do you not recognize that diet your diet, how does your body get any kind of good vitamins and minerals or nourishment if you're feeding it crap day in and day out? So I would think that most human beings would recognize that. Again, they may not do anything about it, but they got to recognize it.
I think people know. I think people know. If they're really honest with themselves, I think they know.
So you would think that you would take this same reasoning and say, my dog's not doing well. My dog's poops are bad. His breath stinks. Teeth are gross. Smells, sheds a lot, has achy joints. But you want to take him to the vet and say, hey, there's something wrong with my dog? Yeah. You're feeding him crap.
Right. But no, but the average vet isn't going to say that. They're going to say, oh, yeah, what you're feeding is fine. Just take some Rimadyl for the pain. And, people that put on weight and oh, just take some Ozempic and then that'll help you, lose weight. You can just keep eating what you want. So some people, I have a family member like this. My brother would not want to change his lifestyle. He'd rather just go to the doctor, take another drug. He had like something with his esophagus or something. And the doctor's like, you're eating too much sugar and too much alcohol, and he's like, not going to give it up. He actually went in and had surgery to kind of redirect something was like not shaped right or something. I don't remember exactly, or maybe he had like a hiatal hernia, but the doctor told him if he corrected his diet, it would be less inflamed in there and it wouldn't bother him and he could live with it. I'm like, nope, I'd rather have surgery than change my diet. So I think even if people know, they don't always, and some people know for their pets and they still don't want it. I talk to people all the time, like they feed raw for a while and then for whatever reason they get off of it. And I don't know like why that they do it once because they know it's healthier and then they go back to feeding a different way, a way that's not good for their pets. And they're seeing changes in their pets. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to understand because I've always made my health a priority. And maybe I'm just unique in that, but for me, having my health and having energy and being active so I can go do what I want to do and I feel good and I sleep well most of the time. There are those nights, but I work at it. And for me, that's the most important thing for me. And I don't care if people tell me I'm kooky because of what I eat or whatever, but I feel good. I'm not out, limping around, gimping around, walking with my walker, I can still get out and run and hike and do all this stuff because I take care of my health and that's a priority. So to know, and same for my animals, to know what you could be doing better and not do it, I don't get it. I mean, that just baffles me. Baffles me.
I always wonder, what I can say better, more effectively, to warn people, to help people that I know love their pets, right? They're like their children, and yet they're just in a not, they're in a compromised, healthy state. But it's a fine line. It's a fine line to try to say, hey, you know, your dog's fat, it's limping around and it stinks.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just the external stuff. So anyway, I never know what would be the phrase? What would be the phrase that would help snap people out of it, Dr. Jasek? What would it be?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew too. I wish I knew too, because some people just got their ideas in their head, or there's some propaganda they're believing. And I think sometimes people just have to have a wake up call, you know, see, have their pet really seriously ill or be really afraid, like that their pet's going to die, and then see a diet change turn them around. I think a lot of people have that wake up call for themselves before they'll make changes, just because it's convenient to eat, you know, fast food and junk and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I knew, but for my own sanity, I've just had to get to the point where all I can do is give people the information based on my experience, and people can take the information and do with it what they please. But it's not like we're doing this because we want to kill pets with raw food, right? It wouldn't be a good business model for you.
No. And you know, I know a lot of the folks that are going to be at the Weston A. Price talk with you, and a lot of those people obviously talk a lot about food to their clients and to their people. And so hopefully they are also talking about pet health, and maybe they will after they hear you, right? That they will also talk about pet health somewhere in the conversation with their clients. I think that would
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah. I'm hoping, you know, too, that hearing it coming from a veterinarian that's been practicing for nearly 40 years, and I'm sharing my experience. Like, look, our pets are getting sicker and sicker. Cancer rates are going up. You know, we have to do something different. And sharing my experiences as a practicing veterinarian will have some impact. And maybe
Yeah.
I can get out on, you know, it'd be cool if I got other invites to get into these other arenas and get in front of other, like maybe not your typical pet audiences, because the people, you know, listening to us here probably already been introduced to raw food, and maybe some of these other audiences where people are aware of this stuff for themselves and for humans, but they never really thought about it for their pets. So maybe I'm just hoping to get the word out. I mean, I guess is the bottom line about
Yeah.
what's really going on in the veterinary profession, and that it's the same as the human medicine. And people really need to wake up and advocate for their pets.
And maybe there'll be somebody that's has a strong voice, right? Even a stronger voice. You have a strong voice, but I mean, you know, like RFK, right? He's out there trying to change some things, right? And shedding some light on some things that are causing harm in our food and in our medications. We have to have somebody like that too, Dr. Jasek, that
a big
will come
name with a big, ginormous audience. Yeah.
Yeah. That says,
let's invite him on the podcast.
Yeah, right. Let's do. Hey, RFK.
He's just the HHS secretary. He got spare time,
right? And I'm like, you know what? It will be like that, you know, like that COVID thing. They're like, what? I've been doing something that might be harmful to my pets. Can you imagine? I can't imagine the pushback, right? You think about how big that industry is, but he's doing it now. And I don't know. I have no idea how this world is put together. All I know is that all the information that we were trying to get out there was shut down, right? About COVID. Mm-hmm. All that information, all the things that could help and did help were not available. So when you really get your mind around that, think about that. Information, well, first of all, okay, information's coming out. You can't talk about the information. If you talk about the information that is good, you are going to be shut down. You can't give real, true, informed consent, because then you could go to prison. And then the medications that could help you are suddenly unavailable. Now, if that doesn't sound crazy today and frightening, I don't know what does, but that's exactly what happened, Dr. Jasek. And we were all just, I mean, not we, a lot of people were just going along with it, going, yeah, this is great. This is the way it should be. Shut those people down. You know, those people should be locked behind bars because they didn't take
we were crazy criticized. We were killing people. We were the grandma killers.
So yeah. So it's not as if the pet food industry would be, in my opinion, any different. And you see that with the cooked foods, right? Your farmer's dogs, all these kind of foods that are coming on the market that are trying to look like they are raw. And in fact, they are not. All right.
Right.
So anyway, that's my rant for today, but I'm excited about your talk and I hope that we get a chance to see it. Maybe Weston A. Price is going to put it up on their site.
They're recording them. They're recording them.
Yeah.
I don't know how widely available they'll be or whatever, but they are recording them. So I'll have more details to come there.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, listen, you can work with a true holistic vet. If you want to keep your pet healthy, you're going to need to have a holistic veterinarian to guide you, to help you understand that you do have the power to keep your pet healthy. You've got somebody in the medical field that can stand behind you and support you. And who is that? It's going to be Dr. Judy Jasek and her team. You can find them at ahavet.com, ahavet.com, and get your dog on a species appropriate diet, right? They have not evolved. They haven't evolved to eat kibble. They're not going to evolve to eat kibble. They're going to keep getting sicker if you feed them kibble. Okay. So get them on a species appropriate diet. We'll help you. We'll ship it to you. We'll deliver it to your door if you're here in the Denver area. But get over to rawdogfoodandcompany.com where your pet's health is our business. And what, Dr. Jasek?
We're friends. Don't let friends feed kibble, y'all.
That's right. We'll see you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.